Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome
Hello.
back to the Two Real Podcast with Mike and Jillian. Remember, we wanted to change the name of it, but now we're just stuck.
We're 10 episodes deep.
10.
10.
10. I give it a 10.
10 episodes deep and we haven't changed it.
We
I think
haven't.
it's just out of laziness. Which kind of combines with this episode.
The topic of this episode.
Yeah.
We didn't even plan that, yo.
We
Good
didn't.
for you.
It's just we're
Good
there.
for you.
I feel like we're going to piss some people off in this episode, though.
Why?
I don't know. I just have a feeling. So,
Well, we love you.
you know where you can send your emails?
I don't give a rip at microsotto.com.
Yep. That's exactly it. You cleaned it up a little for
I
me.
cleaned it up. But we are talking about hard work and hustle because we had an episode this morning. So tell everybody about.
Oh my God. Well,
you got to set it up.
It started about 48 hours ago.
48 hours ago.
So today's Wednesday. We record on Wednesdays. We release the following Wednesday.
Yeah.
Sometimes we record 2 weeks in a row if we're on our game.
Right.
But Monday evening, Hunter fell asleep, and I'm one of those moms. I don't let him keep his phone in his room when he goes to bed. And I go to get his phone, and I notice that there's blood on his neck behind his ear, and I was like, oh. So he was sleeping. I wasn't going to bother him. And yesterday, when I was dropping him off at football clinic, I'm like, hey, your ear was bleeding last night. Did you scratch yourself or something? And he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, well, let me see. And he lifts his earlobe up. And I'm like, did you lose your earring back? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure. And I'm like, well, where is it? And I'm looking at the back of his earring. And his earlobe looks swollen. He goes, I think it's in there. I was like, what do you mean you think it's in there?
I think
so
it's
nonchalant.
in there.
I think it's
my
in there.
earlobe got hungry in the middle of the night
Yeah.
and ate the back
And
of
I'm
my
like,
earring.
Oh, I'm like, well, let me see the other one. And I look at the other one. It looks exactly the same. And I'm like, Hunter,
They're missing a piece to this puzzle. So he's had his ears pierced before.
this is his third time getting his ears pierced.
Third time getting his
The
ears
first
pierced.
two, he took them out and they closed up.
Right.
This time, he just got them pierced after Christmas. So
Right.
I
After
don't know.
football season was over. And
Yeah.
everything like that. Yeah.
I don't know how long his earring backs have been inside of his earlobes. Because this is life with teenage boys. And
Yeah.
honestly, how often are you looking at the back of your kids' earlobes
No, you never.
after
Right.
they're past 6?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So max 3 months.
Right. Because he's had his ears pierced for 3 months.
And it's February. But
for the third time.
so I'm like, I've never seen that. I did not have a basket. So we get home last night and I say to Mike, I'm like, you got to see if you can get these out. And my mom's like, just push the front of the earring and maybe the earring back will come out the back of the hole. And I was like, all right, Mike, I can deal with puke. I can deal with poop. I can't do blood and guts. You got to take this one, buddy.
And I'm the opposite. I
Yeah.
can't deal with poop or vomit because I vomit.
Yes.
I can deal with the blood.
But the funny part is I'm upstairs washing my face and I know Mike's starting to try to do this to him in the kitchen. And I purposely washed my face because I didn't want to be around because I would probably lose it. And I hear Hunter go, stop. And I hear Mike going, ugh, ugh, and
Right.
he's gagging. I'm like, this is such a nightmare.
Yo, but let me explain. Again, I could handle blood. Some stuff oozed out, and that's where I drew the line. I'm like, nah, I can't do this.
So we got one of them out, but the right ear, he could not get it out. It was so in there. Hunter's crying because it hurts so bad.
Wow, you just put him out there.
Well, I challenge anyone to sit through what he sat through, and any man would probably cry.
Probably. Yeah.
And the one that he did get it out of, it was obviously infected. So we took him to urgent care this morning. They looked at it. Apparently, it's very common. Who knew?
They said it was very common.
Yeah, they were like, this happens all the time. We see this is more
I've
common
never
you
heard
realize.
this.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
knew, but they were like, we do this a couple times a week.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
I was
Wow.
like, all right. So the doctor, he was silent on the ride to urgent care. But once we walked in there, this kid talked a mile a minute. That's when he
Yeah.
gets nervous.
When he gets anxious, he's chatty Cathy, man.
He would not shut up. So the doctor comes in. She's like, all right, we have to I'm going to numb it and then we're going to have to cut it out. And he's like, okay, well, how are you numbing it? With ice? She's like, no, we have to do a lidocaine shot. And he's like, oh boy. And she's like, honestly, the shots, she goes, the worst
shot's
part of
gonna
this
be
is
the
going to be
worst thing.
is the shot. And it's only going to be for 2 seconds.
Yep.
And so she injected a little more. Then he couldn't feel his earlobe at all. Then she like really had to dig in there. And I'm in the room, which I don't know why.
She had to cut it again.
Yes, she had to cut it open with a scalpel. I'm getting woozy thinking about it. I don't know why I went in the room. I should have sent you in with him. But I just looked down the whole time. But he's going a mile a minute. I don't feel it. I'm like, shut up. Just let her do her thing. But she finally got it out. They didn't have to do stitches because they don't want to close it up because it's infected. So they're putting on an antibiotic and all that. But I think his earrings days are over, and he got the lecture because after he got them pierced every day. Are you turning them? Yeah. Are you cleaning them? Are they getting crusty? Make sure you're cleaning them. Make sure when you're in the shower, you're letting the warm water go over. Yeah. And we're going to parlay this. You can't half butt anything. Uh-oh. You got to use your whole butt.
You got to use your whole butt. It's the whole butt.
Got to do in the butt, you know? That's a song. That is not any sort of innuendo. Right. The song is, but not in my context. But it's something that I've been trying to instill in him for a very long time. Like you can't half butt it. I keep on one. Yeah, we're gonna censor this. You can't half butt it. Like you gotta this is what happens when you path of least resistance, when you don't do what you're supposed to do. It bites you in the butt. When you half butt it bites you in the butt.
Come on, there's a sound bite.
And here we are getting lidocaine shots and cutting your ear open and bleeding all over the place. And he has sophomore cotillion tomorrow night, so he's going to have Band-Aids on his ears.
That's what Photoshop is for.
The pictures.
That's what Photoshop is for.
This is so well timed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But we run into this a lot. And here's the hard part. You and I kind of feel bad doing this podcast, but I do want to bring a different angle. I feel bad doing this podcast because you and I aren't half-butted people.
No.
Like we are hard workers, and sometimes people are concerned with the amount of work that we do. But we enjoy it.
Yeah.
We thrive on it.
Yeah.
So, the premise of there's a bunch of people that sometimes are in our atmosphere. Our boys sometimes, let's just put it there. Our boys sometimes they half-butted work, but they want whole results.
Yes.
Why do you feel people, I don't know, I just feel like we run into this a lot. It's like people they're upset about things didn't work out well. They didn't get that promotion.
Yeah.
They didn't make the team. And so they're walking around with this disappointment, but I'm like, bro, you had a half-butted effort and you want a whole result?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think, from your standpoint, why do you think people struggle with that?
I think, here we go. Let's just piss people. I think it's laziness. I'm naturally, some people would not believe this, but I'm naturally a very lazy person. I push myself to be where I am because I do enjoy work, but I don't know if that makes any sense, but I am naturally a lazy person.
I think humanity is naturally lazy.
You want to take the easy way out. You want to do as little as possible. I don't think people realize the capacity that they could have. I think people want quick results. They want they don't want to put in the work for a long period of time and then truly see the result. They get, if they don't have that instant gratification, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't right. That wasn't what I was supposed to do. That's not what I was supposed to be, whatever, because it's not that instant gratification.
Right.
And our society thrives on instant gratification.
Right.
Like, you want a car to come pick you up? We do this. We call an Uber, and it's like, it happens to us in Florida. It's going to be 12 minutes. I'm like, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Why are they not here? They should be here waiting for me.
Which is ridiculous.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I think a lot of it stems on laziness and instant gratification.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a quote that Simon Sinek. Remind me, what are the books that Simon Sinek wrote? He wrote.
I have no idea.
He wrote several books. I should have been more prepared for this podcast, but we're too real right now. But I love some of the stuff he does. I listen to a lot of podcasts that people host him on, and he has this one phrase where he says, "When we work hard for something we don't believe in, we call it stress." And then he says, "When we work hard for something we do believe in, we call it passion." So you mentioned already that the reason sometimes people don't work hard is because it's laziness, and it's because it's like when something doesn't provide instant gratification, which I completely agree with. But I like this quote because I think it is true. When you work on something you don't believe in, it's stressful. You're anxious. But when you work on something you do believe in, we call it passion. I'm wondering, is it a belief issue that why people don't work hard? Is it a belief issue, believing that this is worth it, believing that this should be a priority, believing maybe over believing your talents? We were talking about this last night at dinner. And I know the phrase could go both ways, but your talent can take you where your character can't sustain you. Right. And I think a lot of times people just want to be awarded because of their talent. But I like what Earl McManus says. He says that sometimes hard work can be misinterpreted as talent, right?
Yeah.
And I think consistent hard work beats lazy talent any day.
Yeah.
There's another soundbite, right?
Yeah.
Consistent hard work beats lazy talent any day.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, is it a belief thing?
Absolutely. I was nodding through the whole time. Because how often do you hear people say, I don't have the time for that? Like, oh, I want to start this business, but I don't have the time to make a business plan and do research and do online learning and all the preparation that would go into that. But they have all the time in the world to binge season 4, part 1 on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you really not have the time, or do you believe otherwise? Or your priorities otherwise?
Right.
And that, like, it's I think it's absolutely a belief system.
Right. And I think sometimes we say we believe in things, but I think we need to take a step back and do like a heart inventory. Do you really believe in that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It goes back to, I shared this in one of our earlier episodes, this daily mantra that I do is your daily behaviors reflect your deepest beliefs.
Yeah.
And you may say you believe in something, but if your actions aren't lining up with it, like, do you really believe that?
Yeah.
And I think that completely correlates here.
I think also too, like some of the people around us that don't work hard, I think it's also at another reason why I think people don't like hard work is because they're afraid of burnout. Our culture's so afraid of burnout. Don't burn out. Don't burn out. And I get it. I don't want to burn out either. But is burnout a result of you doing too much, or is burnout a result of you not doing the things that you're passionate about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You
don't burn out binging Netflix.
Right. You don't burn out. Yeah. I think burnout has less to do with work and has more to do with the passion, in that. And so I don't think this podcast is going to give you answers. I think the win for this podcast would be if we could just help you. We can't have conversations with everyone who's listening, but to help you generate conversations.
Yeah.
With
Create
other
awareness
people.
around it.
Yeah. Create awareness. And I just want to give you questions to, and wonders. Like I wonder, is some of our lazy preferences, is it a result of us avoiding doing the necessary difficult work that we have to do, right? So even doing an inventory of preferences, our preferences, are they based on your passions and your beliefs? This is so good. Are your preferences based on your passions and beliefs, or are they based on your avoidance of difficulty and hard work?
Yeah. Well, think about it. In your day-to-day, when you have your to-do list, whether it's written down or in your head or whatever, what do you do first? You do the easy stuff. You don't do the hard stuff. And a lot of times the hard stuff's the important stuff, but you put it off. You put it off till the end of your day. And then when you can't get to it, you're like, and it's like, are you really passionate about that? Or are you taking the easy way out?
Right. Because you see people all the time and they throw it in the category of, that's just outside of my preferences. Is it though? Like, sometimes our boys are like, I don't like school. Well, what don't you like about it? Because you want to be successful.
Yeah.
Our oldest, he's like, he wants to make money. He wants to, and sometimes in order to get to where you want to go, you have to do some things that you don't like doing. Yeah. Right. So then we just say, well, I'm just not people say this all the time, I'm just not a classroom person. I'm just not a reader. Or even this one, I just don't like conflict. Right. Like, and at the end of the day, you don't need to be in love with those things. But again, I wonder if like all of our preferences, and then what we do is we limit our lives with our preferences and personality, and then wonder why we have a purposeless life. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're like, I'm not living out my purpose. Well, because you're not guided by your passions, you're guided by your preferences. Yeah. Right.
And you're going to live a small life when you keep your world small.
Right. and your world stays small when the world has to cater to your preferences.
Yep.
But again, go back to what is your purpose and your passion.
Yeah.
And again, you and I, we do think we don't. Okay, sometimes you like waking up early. I never like waking up early, but I just know that when I wake up early, when I do the hard things first, when I just do my workout first thing, so I don't have to worry about it later. When for me to have that discipline of reading my Bible every single day or doing those things, when I do those things first, even though they don't cater to my preferences, but they do cater to my purpose. That's what makes the hard work worth it.
Yeah. And how many times have you've woken up early, even though you didn't want to, you've done your workout, you've done your reading. How many times after you've done that, do you feel worse than when you woke up in the morning?
No,
you always feel better. Always.
Always.
But it's a matter of pushing yourself. It's humanity. I feel like every episode comes back to humanity.
Yeah.
But we don't want to do it. But every time we do, we feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what I'm telling myself in my head at 5:45. Like, I don't want to work out, but I know you're going to feel better afterwards. You're going to feel better afterwards.
Right.
Just do it.
Right.
So
and
yeah.
that's why you have to almost like pre-decide.
Yeah.
Like bedside logic always robs you from
Yes.
wise decisions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Bedside logic just is horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to need to pre-decide. If I don't wake up, then
Yeah.
I'm going to miss out on being fruitful today. I'm going to miss out on being productive today.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to set that alarm and put it far away so I can't snooze.
Yeah.
And do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, did I feel like waking up this morning and having to drive over to Mount Laurel to go to urgent care and sit in a room and watch his ear get cut open? No, I didn't feel like doing that. But you know
Right.
what? I'm passionate about my children and I want them to be healthy.
Right.
I don't want to let things go and let him be, because he's like, we'll just leave it in there. I'm like, bro, no.
My man said, we'll just leave it in there.
I'm like, you can't leave it in there because it's infected and you could get septic and that's very, very dangerous. So
Right.
no, we have to get that out of there.
Right.
So I'm passionate about my children. So whether I wanted to get up early and drive across town to take them to urgent care and sit in a room and in a situation that I'm very uncomfortable with blood and guts and everything, but I did it because I know it's important. And there's times like our kids, we just want to be millionaires. Well, there's a lot of work that goes that goes into that to become that. Like, I love listening to Ed Milet, and he's very vocal about the fact, like, he didn't just wake up one day
Right.
and be Ed Milet. He claimed bankruptcy and was homeless at one point. And now he's this multi-billionaire, super successful, great guy. Like, there's a lot of steps that come into that, and none of those steps returned instantly.
Right.
There was no instant gratification. There was a lot of hard work involved. But if that's what you feel your calling is and where you want to lead in life, like, you have to put the pedal to the metal. And sometimes I feel like people don't want to do that. They think that's unreasonable. And I've used the phrase a couple times, like, life's going to be really hard for them. Because they don't realize, like, I feel like sometimes you're living in a small world. You're living this bubble that's so far removed from reality that when someone comes up and pops your bubble that people can't protect you from, life's going to be really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So why do you think hard work gets a bad rap, though?
Because I'm sure there's been instances where people have been manipulated and mistreated and all of those things. I think it also... I think it goes along with, like, how you're brought up. Like, my parents, like, when I was 13 years old and I actually worked under the table a lot of places, but, like, when I could actually work, my parents were like, you go get a job.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, my senior year of high school, I got let go from a job and I went home and I was, like, really upset. My mom's like, so, like, where are you working next? And I'm like, I just got let go. Like, I got fired. I just got fired. I'm trying to, like, make it sound all cute. I got fired, and I'm like, I just got fired. Like, what do you mean? And it's like, no, there was this expectation, like, we work. Even though when I told my dad that I was leaving the mortgage business to come work alongside you, my dad said to you, my girls work. Like, it was instilled in us.
So I'm going to put her to work, bro. Don't worry about it. I got you, fam.
Whoa.
I'm going to put her to work.
But it was something that was instilled in us, and we were nervous for a while because, like, Chase wasn't getting a job other than working for his grandfather in the summers. And we're like, you need a job. Like, you're getting a car, you need a job. And we're like, how does he not have the drive that we have? Like, we've modeled this for them, but we never pushed them into that. But once he did get his job, it did show through. He is a very hardworking kid. Like he works too much sometimes in our opinion, but I think that's also us protecting him from time to time.
Right.
But I think a lot of it is how you're brought up. And sometimes as parents, we want to protect our kids and we want to make life really easy for them. And we talked about this before. We want to shield them from disappointment. Oh, you didn't make the team. It wasn't because you didn't work hard and put in the practice and the long hours. It was because it's political and, you know,
right.
they have their team in mind. No, sometimes you just didn't work hard.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is, don't come at me. I think it's parenting, a lot of it. And trying to make life easy for our kids. And I don't think we do that maliciously. I think we do that out of love. But sometimes it's hurting them more than we realize.
Yeah. And I hear the people listening and go, yeah, but, and I agree with some of the buts, like the buts of like, there are people that work too much.
Yeah.
There are people that I'm not advocating for burning the candle at both ends. I'm not advocating for, destroying yourself for the sake of success.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I watched in my field, I watched a lot of pastors put their family on the altar of ministry and completely destroy their family. And
say that,
like to sacrifice their family, their time with their family, just to make sure that everyone in the congregation is put first, or well, I have to be there to put out this fire. I have to be there to put out, and all the weight's on them. And they almost have a Messiah complex where they feel like they have to always come and be the hero and save the day.
Yeah.
But at the cost of their family.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating for that at all. I think the not to get preachy, but the pattern that Christians believe is that you work 6 days a week, you rest one day. And I think there's some people that just work all 7 days with no rest. Wrong. And there's some people that rest 6 days and only work one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so to find that rhythm, there's rhythms of rest and there's rhythms of work. But when we work, we work.
Yeah.
And I'm a big advocate of, yes, work smarter, not harder. Facts.
Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder. But sometimes working lesser isn't working better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to recognize that and just to be aware of that. Again, we're not giving you answers. We're just pointing to, hey, can you be more aware of this issue?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think we touched on this in the episode on crazy calendars and working together. We talked about, boundaries. For me, like I have multiple jobs and I balance a lot, but like Fridays are my days off. And that, like, I protect that. My phone's on personal mode.
Yeah.
I don't look at emails. Like, Friday's my day off. I protect that. Or this past month when you were traveling a lot, there were days marked out on our calendar that said, do not schedule anything.
Right.
Because it wasn't your normal day off because you weren't in the state, but like we found those times to protect that. So we had family time and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it is around boundaries, working smarter, not harder, finding more efficient ways to work, planning your days out. I could go down the rabbit hole here. This is like my bread and butter, but sometimes people will establish hours for themselves, and they'll be like, I'm working 7 to 2 today, or I'm working 9 to 3 or whatever it is. And they don't work, like they want a shorter work day, but they don't want to work efficiently within those hours. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm done working at 5 and it's like, okay, that's great. But like, you've done nothing all day. You could have been done working at 2. You could have knocked it all out. If you weren't scrolling your phone, if you weren't doing this, if you weren't doing that, like you can work more in less time if you're efficient about it. But some people also like to be, well, these are my hours, and do nothing within those hours. And then they wonder why they're behind and burn out. And it's just,
I used to do this, and B, it was hard for me to lead people that were like this, where there was just like, they created their crunch times, right? So like and it didn't look like procrastination, but like when you're at your laptop and you open up Facebook, or, you start shopping on eBay or Amazon or that kind of thing.
Do people still shop on eBay?
I don't know, but you start working. It looks like you're working, but you're not. And then, oh my gosh. And then you make your stress everyone else's stress. Like, I'm not going to reach this deadline. I didn't have enough time. Like, I need more time. And now all of a sudden there's this domino effect of your lack of working hard. Now it's going to make other people have to work hard.
Yes.
Right. So even that awareness of like you just said, be focused. Sometimes it's not about working harder. It's about focusing harder.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time. And that, especially those who are working remotely, like at home, it's real easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
And so it's just to stay focused and work smarter, not harder. But I think let's define what working smarter looks like.
Yeah.
That means focus. That means efficient. And that means not being distracted and honoring your boundaries.
Yeah. Yep.
All that being said, I think I'd like to close with another thing that I would say to both those who like working hard and those who don't like working hard. I think you don't have to choose between work and fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what I do that I find fun. It's that old saying, if you find a job you like, you never have to work a day in your life.
Yeah.
Like, work and fun are not mutually exclusive. Like, you don't have to make that choice.
Yeah.
Things could be fun and work all at the same time. And so those who work hard, make sure you're having fun. Those who don't like working hard and you're all about the fun, hey, find some hard work that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to this purpose and passion.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Purpose and
I'll have
passion.
days where when we were in Orlando last week, the event I'd been planning for months, like I planned it out, I was all set, and some communication was lost with different vendors and stuff. I'm not sure how. In the moment, I was raging, but at the end of the day, I still had fun because I enjoy doing that type of stuff. And I set my life up and my schedule up and my work efficiencies up so that I can get stuff done, but I still have time for my family and everything else without getting burnt out on top of it.
Yep.
So
we're not advocating for burnout, but we are advocating for, if you're going to work, do the work.
Work. Since we talked about Rihanna last week.
Right. So that's it. You want to close this up?
Yeah. Thank you for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Mike Rosato at Jillian Rosato. You can find us on TikTok at Mike Rosato at Jillian.Rosato. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you are on. You can sponsor the podcast on Anchor, which is usually the page we link the listening option up to. You can follow us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're over there. And share this with a friend. Open to any future podcast ideas that you might have. So if you want to comment on this week's pod and let us know what you would love to hear us cover, just jot it down there. And that's it. We'll see you next Wednesday right here on Too Real.
Peace.
Bye.